I struggled with addictive behavior since the age of 13. I tried to lose weight for sports in school. I was eating as much as I could and I was throwing it up. I ended up going to the dentist for my teeth because the back of my molars were getting damaged because of the food. And that's when everything started with the Vicodin. I was taking 10 Vicodins a day. By the age of 19, I was introduced to Roxy's, and then by the age of 21, I was addicted to heroin. I couldn't get up and tie my shoe without putting a needle in my arm. My light in my room was on at 5 o'clock every morning because I was putting a needle in my arm. By 5:30, I was bringing my father to work. He was giving me cash. He would stop by the ATM on the way to work and pull out money for me. Everyone knew I was getting high. I was doing it up to 10 times a day. My mother spoke to me a bunch of times about, I know you're doing heroin, you're going to die. But she would turn around and enable me to get high. My mother would give me money when I needed it to go get high. Go into the bathroom and do what you have to do. I feel that my mother, in some ways, participated in my downfall of addiction.
I have been criticized by everyone, how I have dealt with Arielle's addiction. I am fighting for my child's life. And if that meant her sitting in the house nodding off, then that's what it was.
She kept using the drugs. As we found a new needle, she'd go get another needle. We would collect them.
2 times I ran to get my dad because I was afraid Arielle was on the bathroom floor dead.
I can clearly remember walking into the bathroom and Arielle was laying on the floor naked. We would just put her in the bed and keep going. We loved it too much, and we thought, as parents, we were handling it in a good way.
During the past 10 years, my life has surrounded Arielle and her addiction.
Donna put 100% in trying to help her daughter. She went above and beyond because our marriage suffered.
Once I realized how bad Arielle's addiction was, I spent from sunup to sundown, chase the drug dealers down, go to social media, follow her.
I will continue to pull off every message, every invite, every name that has contacted Arielle on this phone about drugs.
It began to be a full-time job. I did not realize that my time spent on Arielle's situation was pulling more away from Michael and Ellie.
My mom was helping me with my reading problems. Then she stopped because Arielle was on her drugs.
I sacrificed the marriage, relationships with other family members. I am proof right here that sometimes you can't please everyone. Trying to help one, you may lose.
What's your level of commitment in being here? Because we can do one of two things. We can either kind of dust things off, or we can dig down and really change this situation.
Dr. Phil, we've dusted enough. We've been dusting, and that's the problem. We haven't dug deep enough. We haven't looked each other in the eye. We haven't said the words that need to be said to set us free so we can rebuild our family again.
Even if that means hearing things you don't want to hear.
I didn't want to hear for the last 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. How about you, Ellie?
I feel like we need to learn how to communicate with each other more, and we need to learn how to actually understand what each other is saying.
So you want to get real here.
Yes.
Because I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't have done this story if it wasn't for you two. Because I think you guys have been pushed aside and put in the back seat long enough. Michael, your biological mother was how old when you were born?
She was 12.
She was 12. And what's your thinking, Ivy? This is a situation that, in my opinion, is clearly broken, is clearly not working. And it's going to take some real serious digging into this if we're going to really have a chance to change it.
Mike and Ellie have seen a lot, and there are things that needs to be said by them, out of their mouths, so we can hear them, because we never heard them.
When Michael was 15, his school had a sweetheart dance. He picked me to be his sweetheart. Before the dance, I got high on methamphetamine. During the dance, I left Michael, then I went out in the parking lot and I shot up dope.
I was trying to find my sister. She came back all hyper.
Everything was fine when I went inside. We danced, we had fun. We got out of the dance. I started to drive, and I started nodding out. So I pulled over.
She was like, "You want to drive?" I was like, "Sure. Wish me good luck. I don't crash."
At that point, Michael had never driven a car before. Now that I look back at the pictures, you can see my eyes are so big. You can see I'm not myself.
The whole family dynamic changed when Arielle started doing drugs. Michael was fighting with my parents are fighting with Arielle. Everybody was fighting with everyone. The worst thing I ever saw was Arielle hit Michael with a cast iron skillet.
The worst memory was my dad and Arielle arguing, then Arielle trying to stab my dad, so I blocked it. She sliced my hand, then the cops came.
After everything went down with Arielle, Mom had to step away to focus on her, and Michael's reading suffered. When I was 14, Arielle had her baby Aiden. He had to stay in my room, which made my life difficult as a middle schooler. When Aiden got up in the middle of the night crying, I'm the one who had to get up with him. I was angry, annoyed, tired, because I wanted Arielle to be there to take care of her kid. My friends were dealing with typical 14-year-old problems, and I was raising a child at home with my sister who was dealing with her heroin addiction. I learned to console myself without needing a shoulder to cry on. I became socially awkward. When all this went down, I felt like I wasn't really that important and that my problems weren't as important as Arielle's. Arielle isn't doing much to save the relationships that she's damaged. She expects the family just to forgive her and move on, but it's gonna take more work. I can move on from what happened, but I'll never forget.
Well, Ellie, you took on a job.
Yes, I did.
Instead of being a teenager, instead of being with friends, instead of developing, you had to mother a child.
Yes, I had to help with Aiden when Arielle was not around, and when my parents were busy providing for the family, I had to step up and take the role.
Were you aware of what was going on?
Being aware and aware are two different things. Aware of Ellie helping, yes, but aware of some of the things that she suffered, no. I was detached. Half of my mind was spent on wondering where Arielle was or where I was going to end up today when I got off work or before work.
Yeah. And how about you? Were you plugged into this?
I wasn't aware of that what she said, because when I got home from work, I was 100% there. So Aiden was my responsibility.
I'm talking about your daughter.
No, I wasn't aware of her that perspective that she felt, how she felt. I wasn't aware.
By the time Ivy got home, usually he worked during the day. By the time he got home, he picked up from where, we left off. And by then, being that type of child, Ellie spent a lot of time, withdrawn and in her room. It was like, my duty's over, my shift is over. Do you need me to do anything else with Aiden? Dad's home.
But, did they ever sit down with you and say, tell me about you. How are you doing? How are you feeling? You're taking on raising this child. Why do they never come talk to you about it?
Because I don't think I really gave out that aura that I was struggling. I decided to keep it to myself. So what they saw is what I wanted them to see.
The effects of the neglect, I've kind of gone through and collected those things. At 14 years old, she's having to parent a baby.
But she wasn't really more or less parenting. She did the feeding when I couldn't. We never left Ellie to take care of Aiden with that. She would be helping more or less me when I was overfilled. Did you hear what she said in the tape? I heard exactly what she said.
And perception is reality.
That's right.
And that's a burden that she felt at the time. And invalidating it now, sitting here in front of her, doesn't help her.
At this point, I feel Arielle is clean, and I feel if Arielle would relapse, she would come and say, hey, Mom, I'm having a problem. I think it's been over a year since Arielle has used heroin or any type of hard opiates that weren't prescribed for her.
I do not trust Arielle to stay clean. Donna said Arielle was looking for her last night.
I haven't put a needle in my arm in over a year. I have snorted heroin about 5 weeks ago. I am dealing with an active court case, and the charges are pretty severe, and it was hard on me, and I got high when I left the courtroom. I see me snorting heroin not as a relapse, not as me going back to day one, starting all over again. I look at addiction as part of my life. My goal is to live with my addiction, to live with who I am. I just don't ever want it to ruin my family again like it did.
This isn't the first time that I've heard Ellie say some of the things. When I look at these...
But you're telling her now that's not true.
No, I'm not saying that's not
exactly
true.
what you said.
No, I'm
you said,
saying
no,
that's
no, she
what
wasn't
she said.
parenting. She was feeding something.
No, she wasn't parenting. She was not parenting.
was never parenting.
She never parented Aiden. She would feed Aiden. She may change Aiden. But to parent Aiden, that truly was left up to myself and to Ivy. Arielle, she did abandon that role.
No dating, no normal high school years. You said you had to fight to get noticed. What did you mean when you said that?
Like, when they weren't home, like when they were home, I had to, go up to them and try to pull them aside from what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. You said you had to learn to console yourself. How did you console yourself?
I'd console myself through reading books, listening to music, sleeping sometimes.
You say you hold grudges.
Yes, I do.
And you said you learned not to help others.
Yes, help others, because it took a part of me that I already had little of.
And you say, Arielle says, this is in the past, let's just move on. And you say it's not that easy. She hasn't worked at trying to build a relationship with you and heal this relationship.
I think I have.
It's very difficult because we have to talk through it. And when we try to talk through it, we always end up arguing.
You need more from her than you're getting.
Yes, we need more understanding.
What can I do? What can you understand? That I was addicted to heroin, that I was getting beat up, that I left my kids. What do you need to understand more from me?
No, I need you to understand me more. Because
I
understand you were going through very difficult times.
But can you at least admit and say that I try to open up and talk to you? You guys are guarded against me as well.
Yes.
Okay. So it works both ways.
Listen to what she's saying. That's the real sister bond.
I want the same
and that's
thing.
I believe that's what you're saying. She wants that deep sister bond. That's
one of the things I'm trying to figure out, and this is what I meant when I said you talk like some of this is in the past, so let's leave it in the past and move on. You said Arielle's been clean and sober for a year. Mm-hmm. You said it's been 4 or 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. Miss 100% here, you're all up in this. She says it's been 4 or 5 weeks, and you say it's a year.
And I have not put a needle in my arm in over a year. I snorted heroin 4 weeks ago.
Well, I don't know where y'all been or what you call clean and sober, but snorting heroin is not what I call clean and sober. What the hell?
Right, this wasn't brought to my attention. Before coming here, so we have made steps.
Yes. I detoxed myself.
Right, I'm coming to you now to put our words back together. We have been working towards ourselves and doing things. I have committed to my children over 2 months ago in trying to work with them.
Well, God bless you for that. And I'm trying to find out where the bottom is, what the real deal is.
Right.
And you've missed it 48 weeks.
Yes, and I did miss it.
I said 8 to 10 months.
Right. And
imagine my shock hearing this.
During my addiction to heroin, I overdosed in a car. I was found and brought to the hospital, and they injected me with Narcan. When I awoke, I called my dope man, bring me heroin to the hospital. I pulled the IV out of my arm, and I injected heroin into me, and not even 5 minutes later, I died. I died twice in less than 48 hours.
Well, 32-year-old Arielle has been battling a heroin addiction that stole more than a decade of her life. There is one safety net that is always there to catch her when she falls, and that's her mother, Donna.
Before I realized Arielle had a full-blown addiction, I always felt she would stop. I always felt it was a fad. I was in my 20s, about the same age as Arielle when I had my addiction. My friends were doing it. We were socially experimenting and getting high. But when I was doing drugs, I could turn it off.
Because Donna used drugs in the past, she was the one that took the lead role in dealing with the situation.
My mom thought that I could stop doing drugs, but my mother did not realize that I was way too deep in it.
I never realized the addiction was so bad until she stole the $10,000 from me.
I owed my drug man about $10,000, and an opportunity came, and I took the money.
She's missing and the money's missing. She's missed this a long time ago. I won't stop till I get my money back. Don't steal from your parents.
I initially pressed charges against Arielle, and she was taken into jail.
I turned myself in, and my mom came and bonded me out. When I got out, I left. I went back to the streets.
People may call me an enabler, but it is truly unconditional love and a mother's instinct to protect and care for her child.
Are you two smoking dope together daily?
I smoke CBD. I have a blend that I smoke for my anxiety. I don't take Xanax or any pills like that, and it's not every day.
Are you drinking and smoking marijuana with her on a regular basis?
No, sir, I am not on a regular basis.
What
That
are
is
you
not.
doing?
I go out, I work, but I have my, like I said, I do CBD and I mix it with THC, and that is me. That is Donna. That is not Arielle.
You're not doing this with her?
If she's there, yes, absolutely. But
Well-
to say, come on, let's go, no, it's not. We
Well-
live in the same home.
Let's hear what she had to say about it.
My marriage deteriorated when Arielle had come clean. Just last week, Arielle said, now I'm part of the marriage.
I 100% feel like I am more married to my mother than my father. Just not the physical part, but the emotional part, I'm all there. That is my wife. I have a ring for her.
After as much time as we have spent on this journey, especially now, you know, with the sobriety and everything, I have more in common with Arielle than with Ivy.
Donna switched roles from the parent to the friend. Now they're drinking together. And when Arielle was switching from the heroin to the marijuana, they started smoking.
After we get the kids off to school, we sit outside and we meditate and we smoke. And we're on our computers. And then we go back out and smoke before my son gets off the bus. And then we don't have our alone time again like that to talk until everyone else is asleep.
Arielle and I are close, but I strongly feel that Ivy doesn't think he's being pushed aside.
Because I'm no longer physically able to go work, I don't smoke or drink, I'm the outsider watching them two connect.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
That's his perspective, and he's entitled to that. He really is entitled to that. But when I look at what I'm seeing, and I'm going to be honest, with the wife and the I'm her wife, see the ring. Yes, I have a ring. I have a commitment ring that I wear with my daughter. The saying of the I'm her wife, I'm pretty sure that Ivy would say herself, that's more of a joke. And everyone that knows us, that's how they know us. That's a joke. That's not something we look at as, oh, we go away from him and talk about
Are
him.
y'all
or-
smoking and drinking together on a regular basis?
Yes.
Why is she saying yes and you're saying
Because
no?
I'm saying when she comes out, I don't call Arielle and say, let's go do this. We don't. We live in the same house.
You have an addict daughter
I
that
do.
has dominated your family, and you're sharing substances with her on a regular basis.
Okay?
True or false?
I'm going to say...
Yes.
Yeah, I'll say true.
Yes.
I'll say
Then
true.
why are you playing semantics with me about this? You're
But
not
I'm
an
not playing
enabler, you're a
semantics.
co-conspirator.
I'm not a co-conspirator at all. And I refuse to have you sit there and say that I am a co-conspirator
Well,
because
you
I am
don't
not.
get to choose what I say,
Well,
so
I'm
you can
choosing-
refuse
I
all
can
you
choose
want.
my answer, and my answer is the truth for me.
So you can do a lot of things, but you don't do substances with them. You don't do alcohol. You don't do marijuana. You don't do crack. You don't do coke. You don't do anything with that person if you support their sobriety.
I do support her sobriety. And I support her sobriety and her anxiety being handled by the CBD and the THC versus my daughter taking heroin or anything else. I see the difference. I see the difference.
Starting when I was 8, I was molested several times. I know it was because I looked different than everyone else. When I was born, my mom can tell you that my father's mother, they didn't believe how I looked. They wanted to come see the way I looked. Why was I so light? Why were my eyes like that? They didn't believe I belonged to him. So my mom said that she would never let anyone touch me. I felt like she put me on a pedestal early. So when you put me around these other kids and you see how I'm treated this way, you don't think they're gonna be mean to me, they're gonna pull my hair, they're gonna touch me. I believe that that abuse affected me entirely with my self-esteem, and it was the downfall to a lot of my behaviors. I just didn't feel normal.
Very sorry that happened to you. And it wasn't a one-time thing.
Yes, sir.
This happened across time, right?
Yes, sir.
It just came out during our,
For you.
for me,
you, for you.
what, a day ago, 2 days ago? Because I kept hearing over the years, anxiety. What's the story about the anxiety? That's when I found out. Because I would tell you, and I've told my wife, something happened. In 2016, when she was at her worst, something happened to our daughter. Nobody ever got to the bottom of it. And I just started being able to ask certain questions. I found out she was raped, and I found that out, question. Then I just asked about the anxiety and found out about this. This was a blow.
But you now know that she was molested when she was 8.
Yes. Yes.
And
just
you
like
know
I said,
that it
this is about to be
happened
dealt with.
by more than one person on more than one occasion.
She just only mentioned one individual. I don't know the other. I
Well,
don't know
I'm
the other.
telling you now.
Yeah.
That
I heard, it came out of her mouth. I didn't know.
Well, I'm telling you now that it's more than one person.
I can believe that. We've always wanted to know. I'm looking at you. We've always wanted to know what you had hidden. You just never told us.
You deserve for that to be dealt with.
Absolutely.
How do y'all think this is going so far?
I feel anytime that you can put us together, that we can freely cry and admit some things that maybe haven't been said, I think we're in a good spot.
Do you think y'all are approaching this like running forward with open arms, or do you think you're approaching it defensively?
I think open arms, I do
I think
personally.
some of us are approaching it
Yeah.
defensively.
I think there's a lot of defensiveness here. A lot of defensiveness. That's okay. I think when you get asked hard questions and you get asked to look at hard aspects of your life, it's hard not to be kind of defensive about it. I wrote down a list of questions that I have in my mind, and I wrote them down, and I want to show you what they are. These are just things that I put down that just jump out at me just at first blush. What is being done on a daily basis to make sure that Arielle's 2 children are being insulated from all these current family dynamics? What's being put in place to ensure that these children can thrive? We've seen how Michael and Ellie have suffered through neglect. What's different now? What can be done for Michael and Ellie as they prepare to launch into their lives, to get out there? Are they equipped with basic life skills to succeed? Do Ivy and Donna want to salvage their marriage? Are they prepared to put their relationship ahead of Arielle's interest? Arielle is semi-sober. Is she ready to take her children and provide support in a healthy home? Prepared? What is she prepared to do now? Is this family to come together in a healthy way, which means they have to individuate in healthy ways? Are they ready to substitute the drama for a lot of hard work? Is Donna willing to set clear boundaries with her daughter? I mean, just these jump out at me just from the very beginning. If we just answer just those questions, those are questions I had before I even met you. If we answer just those questions, you would take a quantum leap forward. And I want to do things a little differently here. We're going to take a multi-day dive into the aftermath of everything that's happened here. I want to meet with you guys again tomorrow.
Okay.
But I have a very specific assignment that I want you to do tonight. You know, this is an event that can be a catalyst for change. I mean, real change in your life. If you seize this opportunity, you can look back 10 years from now and say, I remember the day we walked through that door, and it set us on a path for change that brought us to where we are today. And that's up to you. I mean, I hope you create value. But what I want you to do is I want you to sit down, each of you, with a pen and paper, and I want you to write 2 pages on the story I'll tell myself if I don't create value with this opportunity. The story I'll tell myself, because there'll be some crap you tell yourself. You'll justify it somehow. You'll make some excuse. You'll blame somebody. The story I'll tell myself if I don't create value. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay.
And then we'll pick up. There is so much more work to be done, and we will continue this because we're going to be right back in this circle tomorrow. You feel like coming back?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yes.
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 Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
I'm not sure that you guys are ready to change.
Be specific.
Oh, I've been specific. I gave you a specific assignment that you just blew off.
A family back for help.
Is there anything that I say to you that you're not going to argue with?
I'm going to argue what I feel is right.
Is there confusion about biology in this family? Is this your biological father or not?
I can leave and you can finish it with them.
You do whatever you want.
That's tomorrow.
I'm here because I want to dig into it.
Well, you're barely here because you tried to leave already.
I was addicted to heroin, and I was getting beat up, that I left my kids. What do you need to understand?
Are y'all smoking and drinking together?
No.
Yes.
Why is she saying yes and you're saying no?
New Dr. Phil. Check your local listings.